So they're really like out. So our house, I don't know if any of you saw it, but or showed it on 87th. So it was on the market for 325. That he was advertising it as 900 a month, all the utilities paid.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And people
So
don't automatically red flag that.
they don't. They don't. I mean, and if you really look at the language of it, and I posted it on our agent's email, but if you really look at the language, you can tell it's somebody that's interpreting English language from something else, just the way that it's spoken, and that it's terrible. And I'm sure there's not just one person, there's probably thousands that are doing that. So however much consumers are losing. Yeah, Tim's on his way. He was just finishing up at a house. And we can go ahead and get started because it's already 5 after. So I don't know about you guys, but I loved this week's video. I thought it was so good, had so much in it. And interestingly, it ties in with Allison Roach doing our mentor meeting on open houses. But that honestly, that was the first time I've seen Brian do a demonstration of an open house. He's talked about it for years, and we do that. But to see him and how smooth did you guys like notice like how smooth that whole thing was and all the information that he captured? I thought that was just brilliant. So anyway, I'm very happy about that. Hang on one second. Here comes Tim. Excuse me just a second. I'm going to mute myself for just a second. So first of all, hi Tim. First thing before we get to this week's video and talking about that, I want to go back to and review from last week, just what you guys have been doing. So remember last week was about working with buyers. Who wrote an offer this week?
Ooh.
How many people? Raise your hand.
Ooh, got a couple.
Okay. Dennis, Kathy, let's talk about your experience with that this week. Both of you.
Awful. I mean, it was an estate. It was grandma's house that she probably died in, and it looked like it had her original wallpaper from when the house was built. It had the carpet from the 70s. Needed like tons of updates. We offered 11,000 over asking price. We offered no inspection. We offered that they could leave any unwanted items behind, and we were going to rent a dumpster, and we didn't get it.
Did they tell you? Did the agent tell you why?
No, I asked for feedback on our offer and got nothing.
Okay, so another question. Did the agent call you and tell you you didn't get it?
No, he didn't. I actually texted him and asked when we could expect a response, and he responded to that.
Okay. All right. So hold that. Kathy, let's talk about
a beautiful home that I kind of suspected it was going to go over. So we did, it was listed at 300. We wrote 310 inspections for informational purposes. And then they did tell me it ended up going for 353. And the buyers offered to pay in cash whatever it didn't appraise for, so to make up the gap.
Okay.
And no inspections at all.
Okay. Did the agent did call you and talk to you then?
She texted me, yeah.
She texted you. Okay. Anybody else write an offer or?
I had one, Carol.
Katie. Okay.
Very similar situation as Dennis and Kathy. My VA buyer, super sweet people. We've written 3 times. This last one, they went 20,000 over, no inspection. didn't get it. And we got a text from the listing agent just saying that we came in second and that the other group just gave more money. So
Hmm.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't write an offer, but I will say yesterday I went to show up. I scheduled an appointment at 7:30 in the morning, was approved. And at 5:30, when I'm pulling in the driveway, I got a text message that my showing had been canceled because they accepted an offer.
I've had that too.
Okay, so no like human interaction anywhere there. Would that
No.
have made some kind of a difference for you? Would have been helpful or?
Would have left a better taste in my mouth about that agent.
Yeah, okay.
I had that too. 2 weekends ago, I had a cash buyer who was going to do no inspections. We were going to be the third viewing period. And the morning of, they canceled all showings because somebody wrote an offer sight unseen overnight and they accepted, which to me is like, don't you want to push the price? Don't you want to see what other people think?
Yeah, well, maybe they did in their sight unseen. So we had a
Yeah.
sight unseen on one of our listings. The very first offer we got was sight unseen, and it was well over asking price. So they ended up doing more than that, but yes, people are writing sight unseen. Tim had, what did you have, 24 sight unseens or something? Okay. You're muted.
Sorry, 23 sight unseen offers on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was an investment property with the multi. So kind of I can understand a little bit more about that because the motivation is different. So we had several things that went on, but as a list from the listing side, we had a listing that we had 45 or 50 showings in about 24 hours, 24 offers. That was like people calling saying, is it even worth it for me to write an offer? And the highest offer was 12% over asking price. So it was 50,000 over, but we're in a $200,000 range. And I called every single one of those 24 agents. And this is my point with on the buyer side now. Yes, you're going to talk to your buyer and you're going to be able to really talk to them, but having talked to the agent, also the agent who actually listed the house is also really helpful in your conversation with the buyer, particularly if like some of the agents cried. They knew their clients were going to cry. Some of the agents, I mean, they just wanted to understand like where the market is. And I think right now, not only do we take care of our buyers, which was last week's, like really how to take care of your buyers, but we also need to take care of buyers' agents. And that's the point I want to make, like really loud and clear. Taking care of each other is best. And if they don't call you when you were so lucky to have a listing that gets that many, it's not really, I mean, it's really hard to do that many offers. You should be calling them, taking the time to call those agents. And every single one of those agents that I talked to, I said to them, each one of them, you wrote a very respectable, honorable offer. In any other market, it would have been acceptable. And I don't know if it just maybe let them off of feeling guilty that they didn't do enough, or they were trying to protect their client, or they were trying to help, but it was really helpful. And I think right now that not only do we think about how we take care of our buyers and our sellers, but we also need to take care of the buyer's agent on the other side. So,
I will say, if you are going to be, to further your point, I realize that people are like, why would I need to be so nice to the other realtors? They're your colleagues. And if you're going to be in this business for any length of time, you don't want to burn bridges. I just had a really horrible closing with 2 realtors that I do not like. But after that transaction, those 2 women got a card from me. They got the love for me because I'm going to do deals with these people again in the future. And I need to have a very strong relationship. And when next time I want to bring an offer to them and if it's swayable, or if there's any reason, I want to be the nice guy that they liked. And that they were like, Tim, you're easy to work with. I know you're easy to work with because it does make a difference.
It makes a huge difference when there's like 6 different categories that people are choosing on, price, terms, anything that goes to the seller. We look at the agent, we look at the lender. That's the other thing. In all those 24 offers, one lender called us.
Yeah.
One lender.
Yeah.
I am just appalled that only one lender did that in that 24. So that's the other thing, is only work with a lender that makes the phone call.
Mhm.
So if you can. So anyway, I wanted to make that point because it was about the buyers. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, Carol.
No,
I just
go
think
ahead.
this is a great conversation, and I'm just wondering, so to be honest, I didn't know that lenders calling was even a thing. So that's awesome to know about. That would be really helpful. But my other question is, so just being new to this, what would someone do, like hypothetically, that would burn bridges? Like, can you talk to us a
Be
little
rude. Be rude. Like, why didn't I get it? Why didn't you call me? You told me that you were going to accept offers Friday at 5. Being rude. You don't
Okay.
be rude. You be
well, that's
sweet.
easy.
You kill them with kindness. You're always nice. You're always polite. I can tell you, now granted, this is the first time even I've been in a market this tight. But I can tell you my personality and my being nice has won offers many
Okay.
times. I will say one more thing I will say is that as a listing agent, when I'm presenting offers, my criteria, my checklist that I'm presenting to my sellers, some of it is also, I talk about the realtor. Do I know a realtor? Did I have experience with the realtor? Not that that's going to put any weight on it, but it's a conversation. Is the realtor polite, and how well was the offer written? I mean, I can have an offer written that the number is the best offer of all the offers, but the offer is sloppy, poorly put together. The agent did not communicate well. That is all going to be communicated to my seller.
Tim, you mentioned your multiple offer kind of like spreadsheet in the past. Is that something you're willing to share an example with us?
Yes and no. Yes, but I don't have anything special. It's just a Google spreadsheet. All it is address. It's just columns. And to be honest, I change it all the time. I change it. I just change it. So it's address. I'm sorry, it's not address. It's the age. The way when I get an offer on a home, as I receive multiple offers, I receive the offer. I make commentary. I send the offer to my seller in an email, and I make commentary. This is an offer. Then I summarize. This is the price. These are the terms. This is how well the offer was written. This is when the closing date is. Blah 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 blah. And then I tell them, but you don't need to do anything with this, because then I go put it in my spreadsheet. Now, my spreadsheet is just the realtor's name, which I start with that because that's how I'm identifying the offers. So think about it from that perspective. When I'm going through my offers and organizing them, it's organized by the realtor's name. So that realtor has to be a nice person to me. So anyway, and then I'm always moving that up and down based on which offer is better and which one's coming in. But that criteria is just like address, price, terms. I'd be happy. I am trying to fine tune it, and I will share it with you.
Thanks.
Kathy, I'll share what we used to use, but it's not big enough anymore. So
I kind of had like a working one, but yeah, things like I didn't even think of things like the realtor names. I'm just looking to supplement the important
everything, all the different categories. We'll get something put together because I know that's probably one of the most important things is what categories are you really looking at? So inspections, time frame, closing date, all of those kinds of things, but also who's the lender, what kind of loan is it, how much are they putting down? Great. Conventional, when you're down to like, they're both conventional, they're both the same price, they both escalated at the same price. Even if you're going to throw the escalation out, like who has more on the table? We ended up taking an offer that had 50% on the table in down payment. Was one of the biggest criteria is how much they had. Not only that, but their lender, their bank gave us a confirmation that they had enough money to make up the difference. So, and that was in a separate account from what they were doing for their down payment on their house. So
like
all those
Carol,
things,
you mean in like the appraisal price, like when you went over, you mean?
Yeah, if we were at if the price was if the price that they offered was $250 and the the appraisal was at $250 and they offered $280, they could make up that difference. based on the offers, it could have been as much as $50,000. And that's not something that you can just pull out of your hat, you know?
So real quick, kind of on that note, so when you're going through all these, you've got it narrowed down to 3 offers that, do you then, as the agent, you call those banks or those lenders and you just confirm, like, or what's your process there?
For me, I will just interrupt. I only call if the lender hasn't called me, I will call only the one that we're accepting.
Yeah, that's the only one that I call also. But we knew we were accepting, we kind of had an idea we were accepting that. So I wanted to have all that in a row. I mean, all that set up before we did. So yes, you want everybody here, back to what Tim said about the other agents. Knowing the other agents makes a huge difference. Also verifying what they think they know. And knowing the other agents, know them when they know. The thing about experience that's great, Ethan, you probably can confirm this too, is there are some agents who are super sweet, super nice when they put in the offer and and if you tell them no, they become Attila the Hun. Like
Yeah.
they are like and I've got 3 of them that, and I see they even are showing any of our houses. I'm like, oh, please God, make them have like a really bad offer, because and even through the transaction, they kill you on an inspection, and they are just ruthless. So knowing them on both sides, not just knowing them based on how nice they are when they call and give you the big, the big run up on their client. So anyway, yeah. So
it wasn't really till I came to Better Homes that I really started appreciating the relationship with the other agents, and it's paid off big time in this multiple offer world. Just having a good relationship with these people, as opposed to just being another. We get offers accepted for less often than other offers, just because our terms are better and they want to work with us.
yeah.
Let's say that I want to talk about that really quick, because I think that's really important. Yeah, the market's tough. And we can debate a lot of things. We can debate personal letters. We can debate a lot of things, but I have had more than my fair share of deals go together where the seller would have not necessarily accepted our offer, but it was how we presented it. It was our letter. We convinced them in some way. I think I may have told you guys I had one just a few months ago, like before winter, like last fall. House. Long story short version, we wrote a letter, and we and my client had a little bit of special needs. He had recently lost his service dog, which was true. He wanted to buy a new service dog, but he couldn't do that until he got a house. And we wrote a letter, and it was all honest. We didn't do any BSing. They had multiple offers. We got the house, and we were the lowest price. And it wasn't about price. It was about this guy wanted to help this young man. So now I wouldn't lie, and then we don't always have those stories, but it's presentation. Price is not always king.
The other thing that I think I was able to talk to other agents when they would call another house that we had on the market. It happened to be our own flip house. And several agents called and said, my client is going to write a good offer. They've got some money down, but they're VA. I don't even, should I even write an offer? And because it was our house and we could make a decision about that. I said, I really want you to know that that will not be an automatic disqualification for us. That we actually we will consider all things about the terms. We will not eliminate it just because of that. And we actually had 3 VA out of 6, 7 offers that we had on that house. And we actually took one in backup offer. And the reason why, because we could have easily taken another conventional that had, pretty much similar stuff. But the main reason we did, they wrote a letter and then had a picture of the family. And it was the sweetest letter. And it was like, okay, the fact that this is VA and that, something may come up you never know on appraisal. We were willing to take that chance. So,
I think I am primarily a listing agent, but I really try to be a good guy, and I try to guide my clients into being good people. And when somebody brings you a VA offer, that means they're a veteran. They need a home.
Mhm.
When somebody brings you an FHA offer, that means it's a first-time home buyer desperately trying to get in their first home and just pulling their money together. These
Yeah.
people deserve to at least be looked at,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
And I think it's up to us to do that education to people. Because I think most of the time when most sellers don't even know, like when you put the house on the market, if you didn't give them a conversation that said, hey, you might want to just, look for cash or conventional, it'll be easier. We won't have to deal with all this stuff because you're going to get a lot of offers. And when they do away with VA and FHA as terms, unless it's like some piece of crap, some like Dennis you wrote on, where it's not going to pass, and they don't, you don't have to deal with like all that stuff before closing. I just think that it's up to us to do that kind of education. So
Yep.
That's my 2 cents on that. Did anybody do any open houses this week? Raise your hand if you did.
I
Okay.
have one set up for this weekend.
You do? And you do, Katie?
I'm sorry, my dog is crazy with these painters here. Yes, I did one. I did one 2 weeks ago.
As soon as you talk.
Well, this is going to be a good open house week.
Yes, it's going to be a good open house week. So,
Bridget trying to say something? It looked like
pardon
Bridget,
me?
looks like Bridget was trying to say something, I thought.
Yeah, Bridget.
All I was gonna say is I was laughing because Katie, when your dog started barking, my dog heard it and started barking. So I was like, the dogs are talking.
She's a
Oh,
very sweet
gosh.
dog. She just definitely has some issues going on today.
Max sent me this TikTok. I just posted it on my,
That's cute.
my Facebook. Wasn't that funny? The dog that the woman was locked out. Her dog was in, but the pole fell down.
And she was getting him to dig it out.
He's getting him to dig it out. You guys have to watch it. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. So yeah. So nobody did any open houses, and a few of you wrote offers. And did anybody do any listings this week? Nope, no listings. Get referrals. Any referrals this week? From anybody? Okay, so
Actually, I have kind of a funny story.
okay.
So I called a gal that I haven't talked to in a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. Anyway, so of course, as soon as she picks up, she's like, hello. She's whispering. And I was like, are you okay? Like, is this a good time to talk? And she's like, no, my son has COVID and he's sleeping right now. And I was like, why did you answer the phone? So I was like, oh, okay.
We missed part of it, Brenna.
We'll talk later.
But we missed the first part of what you said after you said hello. She said hello. So because
I said hello, and she was just like whispering, like really quietly. And so I was like, what is happening? Like, are you okay? Like, why are you answering the phone right now if you can't talk, And so, yeah, she was sleeping next to her son who probably has COVID. And I was like,
oh, geez.
It's great to hear your voice, but you really don't have to talk to me right now. So,
oh, yeah, when you get those calls, right. Well, good. You're making phone calls. So, so today's, the mentor program is going to be really, really, really helpful about the open houses. So we'll go back to that later. But I want to talk about his video this week. We kind of did a little bit of talking about it before Tim joined. But I thought there was just some great nuggets in there. And I wanted to know if any of you can just unmute yourself and tell me what percentage of time you should be spending in your marketing, in your online and offline marketing, relationally, digitally, and conventionally. So anybody remember that? Look at Kathy. Good girl.
Checking my notebook.
Yeah, no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What are the percentages of your time that you should spend? And there's a reason for this conversation. Digitally, relationally, digitally, and conventionally.
70, 20, 10.
70, 20, 10. So why do you guys think that you should spend Why do you think that he broke this out? Let's talk about that.
It's really easy to get caught up online. It's really easy to just get, super hyper focused and spend way too much time doing something online when you should be out actually talking to people.
Great.
And
Front of the class.
it
Go.
kind of goes back to your point earlier about the agents texting versus calling and the type of impression, right? So you can build such a great rapport through conversation versus you can do that online as well, but it's just much more memorable through conversation versus is social media.
Yeah. So also, having had the kind of weekend that we had where we were involved in 3 pretty heavy transactions, actually 4, and we were double-sided on 1. So we're juggling all those people plus all the email and all the texting that went on and the phone calls that went on with that. So listen to this when you think about it. If you list a house and an agent calls to show it, you get notified that they want to show it. You confirm it. You get notification that they've confirmed it. Then they go to the house. You get notification that they're there. When they're done, you get notification that they have completed this showing. Then you get feedback, and then you have to relay this stuff to your client. So we had almost 50 showings times 6. That's 300 pieces of communication. That did not count any phone calls in between that went back and forth, or somebody that was calling to see if that wasn't even about the pre-stuff. Is the house available? Do you have any offers? When can we see? I mean, all of that. Then they ask you everything that's in the listing, that's already there in the listing. Then they ask you all those questions. So
That's a way to piss somebody off.
that is the way.
Asking them all sorts of questions, and you just politely say, please refer to the MLS. Please
Look
refer
at the listing. No, I'm driving, or I'm in my car, so I can't look at the MLS. Well, then stop your goddamn car. Like, go look at. I'm like over that from this last weekend. So then there were 3 houses that this had like all this same stuff. 1 was off market, so didn't have to deal with all that, which really has a lot to say about finding off market homes, because then you don't have to deal with all that. But so it's very easy, Dennis. I completely confirm everything you said. It's very easy to go down that rabbit hole of digital and conventional too, but digital particularly, because I'd say that most agents spend 70 to 80% digitally and about 20% not even 20% relationally. I'd say 10% conventionally and maybe 10% on purpose relationally. So that, if you can wrap your head around that and base your day on what am I going to do to either be voice to voice with somebody, eye to eye, that means Zoom or something digitally, or in person, face to face. Did I say face to face, voice to voice, and then digitally, like Zoom, eye to eye. So what are you going to be doing during your day to do that? That's why as soon as you get to a place with a reasonably good amount of production per year, we are on you like crazy to get rid of things, get rid of your transactions. Let somebody help you do that. Start getting rid of some of your mailings and your things that you can, that you can pay somebody by the hour, because when you start making money and you stop and you think about how much your 1 hour of your time is worth, it will blow your mind. 1 hour of your directed.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
My watch is trying to answer me. 1 hour of your focus time, like what's the value of that right now? Right now, you should be doing all that stuff yourself because you need to know how to direct somebody. But as soon as you can, and I'd say when you're pushing at 4 million to 5 million a year, Tim, do you agree with this?
Mhm.
You should be looking at having some kind of support systems.
Sometimes that starts with the transaction coordinator that helps you with the paperwork. Sometimes it starts with a part-time assistant. You know, you'll want to go at your own pace, but learning the value of your time is absolutely critical. And being able to hire out the things you can't or don't want to do.
And then more of your time can be spent relationally, which is really has a lot of value.
Right.
Ethan, speak to us about like when you were able to bring somebody on, and did you do it too late, too soon? Where did you fight it like most agents do?
Oh, I fought it all the way.
How come I know that?
I was pretty cheap, and you know, I thought, you know, why would I hand somebody 300, 400 bucks, you know, a pop to process my files for me? Well, it turns out I am terrible at paperwork and processing files. What I'm really good at is talking to people, making new relationships, and selling houses. What I suck at is paperwork. What bogs me down is paperwork. So once I found out that once I started using a transaction coordinator every time, that freed up all this time for me to go out and sell more houses and talk to more people and make more relationships. And once that gets snowballing, like that money that you spend on that transaction coordinator, that's nothing because you've already moved on to the next transaction. Just keeping them going. And to me, it's worth every penny now. Now I mean, don't tell her, but now I like, you know, I want to give her a raise. So just because she's made life so much easier, and I'm so much happier just getting to do what I like to do, and that's build those relationships
And have free time.
Free time, yeah. So
free time has great value.
Still struggling with that, and like even now, I mean, I work a zillion hours, but I found if I take that time to exercise, or if I take that time to unplug or turn my phone off, even if just for like an hour, it turns me back into a normal human that's pleasant to be around. So I just think I would say when I agree with like 3 or 4 million, that's about the time where you really want to start branching out and getting that help.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you have shiny object syndrome?
I have ADD and the prescription to prove it. So
okay.
That's a yes.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I wonder if we took every agent in the company and said, bring your pills and put them on the table.
Dennis.
Yours actually says ADHD. That's great.
All I got was this crummy diagnosis.
Ethan, it's green. Look at that.
Perfect.
So
maybe we should change our team name.
Add a D to it. ADHD, ADD, no, ADHD. Yeah, there's 3 of them. Yeah. That's great. Okay, so shiny ADD. That's the other one. Thank you. Shiny object syndrome. Do you guys know what that is? Remember he talked about it? Anybody have that? And if you do, what are the shiny objects that distract you? Dennis, you want to talk? Or
I mean,
I thought you were unmuting yourself.
I was just going to say we just experienced shiny object syndrome there.
What was that?
Just our little tangent on ADHD.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There we go.
Good point.
Katie, do you have anything? Well, you're the counselor at school, so yeah. What shiny object syndrome do you have?
Well, one thing that I really had to get away from is scrolling Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I have found just through experience that it's super easy to get just sucked into scrolling Facebook, and then you've done nothing with that time. So that's something that I really try to.
How does that, do you actually get a notification that something's happening, or do you just go there because you just want to see if something's happening?
Yeah, maybe where that ADHD comes in, I just, like look up something, and then before I know it, I'm just like scrolling through, just thinking like, okay, now I've just, wasted however much time. So that's something that I've really tried to be cognizant of, is not wasting my time on social media. but doing it
I
purposefully.
think it's paying attention to what automatic behavior we have, because I'll find myself hitting an app that I didn't even say to myself, I'm going to hit this app and look at this information. So yeah, and also I've heard, I mean, lots of people, they turn off notifications because the notifications thing is like popcorn going off constantly. Tim, how do you handle that?
I don't have Facebook on my phone and I don't have Messenger on my phone. And I know a lot of people struggle with that, but I just don't. I have
Messenger, you don't have Messenger either.
Facebook Messenger,
Yeah.
the app. I just don't have that on my phone because I can easily get distracted.
Yeah.
I'm this close from having to delete TikTok, and I don't want to delete TikTok. So I like TikTok. I schedule. I only look at Facebook at night.
Okay, so if somebody contacts you because they don't know your phone number and they contact you through Facebook, then you see that message in the evening. Okay.
That is not the primary way I get business.
Yeah.
But yes, I can miss. I would miss it.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to know which way that you do that.
My hope is that my Facebook page is so buttoned up that if they really want to get a hold of me, that they would call me,
Okay.
or they message me during the day, because I'm gonna check it that night.
Yeah.
If they message me that day and I don't get it, I hope that they're respectful enough to wait till that night. And if not, and if they were that gung ho and I missed out on them, then they weren't my client.
Yeah. Katie, did you have something more on that? Scott, I want to talk all of you to kind of think about what shiny objects, if you do have that syndrome, and what pulls you away from being relational 70% of the day.
I've been anti-Facebook until I started my business, and now I think that it's kind of I don't want to call it evil, but for lack of a better word, a necessary evil. And like some people have mentioned, I definitely go down the rabbit hole. I get on there to try to do some work, and I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to this person for a while. I kind of justify it as work because it is building relationships and telling people what I've been up to and what they're up to and stuff. But I think it's more of a mind game, and it's not really that much work. It is, you need to probably keep that in check.
Okay. Kathy, do you have any rabbit holes that you go down?
I'm an idea person, and so and I have a lot of them, and so I'll tend to like I want to farm my neighborhood, so I'm starting to write letters about that. Oh, but I need this material in order to do that, so I order this material, and so that goes on hold, and then I'm setting up my pop buys. Oh, but I need this one other thing. So instead of being able to just like get it all done, which is what I love to do, I usually find in order to make it perfect, I have to do another piece of it.
That is another enemy of the real estate agent, is making it perfect and having it not being there. There's a couple of enemies. Number one is I'd rather do it myself. Don't want anybody to help me because how can I be sure that it's perfect? And then the other side of that is now you've got it, and you also have it has to be perfect to go out. So that is one thing that if you recognize that in yourself right now, work on it really hard, because I remember when I was at MP Dodge and I was coaching some agents, and for some reason, a lot of people, when I would coach them, I mean, they would cry like during our coaching. It was, I'm not a therapist, but this just happens a lot. So anyway, whatever reason that is, this one person, I mean, a very successful agent at, doing like 8-9 million a year consistently. And every time she would come in, I wish we could get this agent here because I love her. Every time she would come in, we'd sit down and we'd talk, and I'd say, how are you? How are you doing? And it would be this every single time. And I would say, okay, let's talk about what's going on. Completely overwhelmed. Did everything, did it really, really well. Like really, really well. And every week we would have the same conversation. You need to have an assistant. You need to start giving some of this away. And that person for the past 10 years probably, has done the same amount of business every single year. Anywhere from 8 to 10 million every single year. Does more, takes more on herself and takes complete control of it. So, and that's okay if you want to get to a place where you just, that's it. You know, you make 150 grand a year, you're perfectly fine. That satisfies your family, or maybe your partner or spouse, you know, makes enough to keep it going, and it's just your pocket change. That's great. But this should not be a 24/7 job. That to me is not a badge of honor. When somebody says that they work 24/7 and they work hard 24/7, that's not a badge of honor to me. That is like, okay, you need a coach.
Disorganized person who is not, that is not, and when somebody does say they work 24/7, look at them. They're disorganized.
Yeah.
Their life is a mess.
Yes.
Stephanie,
Ethan.
my transaction coordinator, Stephanie, she says, what do you want to say on your tombstone? I realized Ethan Brown, he sold a lot of houses. And,
Emerald Award.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, that'd be kind of cool if it said that, but I'm just kidding. Oh, and Tim, by the way, I just booked a listing appointment on my Facebook Messenger.
See?
So
I'm not surprised. And I know some people really, really heavily put in, that doesn't surprise me. I just never have.
You know those people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, they would have called you.
Yeah.
They would have called you. Or I would have got it later that night. That's all.
All right.
But I understand.
Okay, so we're going to specifically talk about, because this was about online, digital, and in your presentation, and what you get back. So language makes a huge difference. And just like the question I just asked Ethan is, do you know those people? That is a direct referral of somebody's self that has probably done business with him himself before and knows that person, or was referred by some person. So, but we talk about everything as being a lead or a referral. And did you all read through like the definitions that Brian gave for really what those all are? So what is it when something comes from like realtor.com, they saw your listing, or they saw your Google profile, or they want to live in Omaha and they Googled that and something about you came up? What would you say that's called? You guys remember? Kathy's looking in her book. Good girl.
Prospect? Is that a prospect?
Anybody else want to?
Is it impression?
Yes, it's an impression. So had you ever thought about that in that word, that term before? So that's an impression. It's traffic. It's traffic that goes by your, there's people that when they go into a store, and remember when people used to come up to you and say, "Can I help you?" I'm not sure that happens too much anymore. And you say, "No, I'm just looking." That is traffic. That is an impression. Now, if they respond, if you call them back and they respond, then do you remember what that one's called? Now you can put it in the category of
Inquiry.
An inquiry. So they've reached out to you, they've inquired. The next step is that they are curious. So they ask all kinds of questions. You talk with them. Now they're a curious person that's making an inquiry. And then they become, if you can get their phone number and their email, then what are they called?
Prospect.
Prospect. And the understanding of being a prospect is that's a prospective person that prospectively will work with me, not prospectively will buy a house or be a client. They will prospectively work with me. The next place is you have to qualify them. Now, are they buying a house? Is it within the next few months? Is it 6 months from now? Is it 2 years from now? Are they just like getting information? And this house happened to come into their perspective. And so now you can qualify them. Someplace where you can put them into your database, and you then can gather their information. You now get all their information. You even get their mailing address so you can send them what? Personal note. You've had a phone call with them. Now they are a lead. Now you have a lead. When you actually start to do business with them, showing them houses. So you had them as a lead, you're now showing them houses, and you put them into contract, you now have a customer. From customer, then that's the person that you're doing business with. You have actually a transaction. So you see how that makes a huge difference, because what that will do in your database is help you to really qualify people. Not everybody's an A when they come into your database. Not everybody is going to be somebody that you're going to be following up with every week or some of this won't apply. So if you actually can put people in those kinds of categories, you will have so much more control over what you do with your activities, which then become your relational activities, or you're going to be in digital activities, or you're going to just do some traditional stuff where you send things in the mail. Okay, you guys get that piece, because this is a really, really important piece. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, and I know this is really more of a teaching class this time than heavy interaction, but there's so many things from this 1 week video that I want you guys to really, really get down pat, because this is going to be a deal breaker for you in how your business gets set up. First of all, I loved watching Brian do his open house because it was so smooth. There were so many things there. And out of that open house video, you probably were able to see how to put people into this sequence, going from so somebody walks into an open house. Where would you say that is a that is a lead, or would you say that that's an inquiry, or was that an impression? Who wants to answer that?
Would it be an impression? Because you haven't really responding to an offer or anything like that. Since they're just coming in.
Okay, so let's see if anybody else has. So is that an impression? Is that an inquiry? Or is that a lead? At that point, they walk through the front door.
I feel the same about impression or traffic, because right
Okay.
now you aren't really their interest at all. It's the home or
So what do you want them to be when they walk out the door?
your customer or your prospect.
So remember the way that went. So impression, inquiry, then to this prospect, phone number and email. They're now a prospect. You could have also had a conversation with them and asked a lot more questions. And guess what would walk out that door? A lead. A qualified lead that you had their information. And did you see how smoothly Brian did that? And he had a next touch with them. And that's always, for me, that is always my goal. If somebody calls me, or I talk to them via, in a conversation, face-to-face conversation. And in order to get them up that ladder, I want them to come in as an impression and walk out as a lead, a qualified lead. So that
It's good clarification. It helps you address like how to talk to somebody, where to put your energy. It's good clarification.
Yeah, good. So you guys, anybody have any feedback on that, or did you get any kind of a aha from that? So today, when we go to the next step, which is going to be mentors, and I'd love to take credit for making these two things happen at the same time, but it just happened to be that when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. It's going to be the same day. So the last thing I want to talk about is what your social media looks like. And I want Tim to also speak to this, because I think that what Brian said when he didn't spend a lot of time on this, but I hope you heard him when he was talking about what you put on social media. Your what you put on, so you guys probably already know the people that you're like, oh hell no, I'm not going to have them even appear in my social media anywhere, and I don't want to get in those conversations, and I don't want to do anything about that. And that's not a person that I would refer my people that I know to. So that's the kind of thing that you can see when you're watching and seeing other people's Facebooks, Instagrams, whatever other social media things. So what he said, and I thought this was perfect, is when you're posting things that are not in the best taste, or they elicit conversations from the people that you're friends with, the conversations that go on your page, even if you didn't say it, somebody you know says it, they will either alienate 50% on one side or 50% on the other side. So you've just done away with 50% of the business. So I want you guys to kind of speak to that too, but I'm going to have Tim talk.
I'll speak. The reality is you just need to shut up. I mean, we want to sell, we want to make as many friends as we possibly can. We all know that everything is politicized. Everything is controversial. We might believe that, that we're right. And I know I am, by the way, and who I voted for, and I know it, but I'm not going to comment it on social media. I recently had to call one of our agents to recommend they take a post down, and the post felt easy. I'm not going to go into any elaborateness of the post, but it was a post that this person didn't mean much of anything by it. But to Carol's point, all of a sudden this person's friends started chiming in, and it started getting extremely political. It was a post that, had they thought about it, it had a political connotation to it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. You want people to like you. No, the thing is, that person, I now know that we have a very different idea on politics and on finances. I know much more about that person's positions than I ever wanted to know. And I just wish I wouldn't have known them.
I think that's a perfect statement, Tim.
I just don't want to know. I just don't want to know. Just like
now I know, and I didn't want to know.
And people can make assumptions all day long. They can assume I'm gay, so I must be liberal. There's all sorts of stuff. But I think we just gotta don't post it. You stay positive. And to be honest, you would think this would be easy, but it's not.
It's not at all. That was my greatest challenge in 2020. Not the global pandemic. It was not making political posts every 5 minutes.
Yep.
Well, and I think that I think that there's something that you should be headed for in social media, and this is a whole other conversation. Allison, thank you for joining us. We're just finishing up our 100 Days to Greatness class, so we'll just end this and then we can go on to the next. But I want people to fall in love with me and my family and what my life looks like, and so it's not just real estate. I don't want them to know that my job is hard. I don't want them to know that, that I had to go in the hospital. I don't want them to know all that stuff, not because I'm not extremely transparent, because I'm probably too transparent for some people, not for me. But I just want them to think that I really live what I practice, and that it doesn't matter to me. I'm probably one of the most diversity aware people that I know, but I could be better. I could be much better. So I don't always know what the right thing to say is. So I don't say anything about things like that. So whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's whatever it is, I don't, it's not going to help me with my business. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not going to help.
I will further the point. I will say, because I was talking to somebody else recently. Is that screwing up? And they were saying to me, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people knowing my opinions. I'm okay with only working with people that are like-minded, and that's great. She made that decision. She was okay with it, and I respect that. So, but when you're brand new and you just want to make as many friends as possible, make your choice. Are you going to be political or not? And
well, and then maybe do it somewhere completely else, because if you've got the brand of our company on your page, you're not talking for me, and I don't want that, and I'm not talking for you. So So maybe that's some, you know, some way for people to think about it is you can go do anything you want, you know, free speech, everything. But let's just be respectful of, I'm not putting my name to that. So don't put my affiliation with it. So.
And if anybody ever asks you guys how you're doing, you're never gonna say, I'm too busy. You're never gonna say, if they want to know how business is, you're not gonna be like, oh, I don't know, it sucks, it's hard. You're gonna be like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Or if
You-
somebody
that's
says,
right.
I have a first time home buyer for you, you don't go like, oh no, shit. let me refer it off.
Oh, I hope he's VA.
Yeah, you just don't, and you don't. This is another thing. I've actually talked to a couple of other agents and just said, can you please stop, you know, stop putting out, hey, I sold this house in 15 minutes and we had 70 million offers and it went, you know, 100,000 over asking. That, like, if you're a buyer, the city, you'd be like, oh my God, we can't do that. So let's, as I started with at the beginning, let's hold up other agents as best as we can right now, at the same time as we're holding up our buyers and our sellers. Let's make sure that somewhere in your day that you make some kind of contact with another agent, at least one other agent, and just hold them up a little bit. Give them some encouragement. Tell them they're doing a great job. When you have a listing, and just a reminder about what we talked about at the beginning, when you have a listing and you have a shitload of offers and you have to tell the other agents that they didn't get it, pick up the phone and call them and not just send them off a text, or don't send them anything. Every single one of them deserves that. So we're all working hard. Let's just not put that out there to the consumers. They don't really care because they're crying. So anyway, let's begin to wrap this up. I think this was a great, hopefully helpful conversation. I would go back and watch. I'm going to go back and watch the video again, because I think that video was just gold. Everything that he talked about. And by the way, Allison, in the video that they just watched on online and offline marketing and social media, Brian actually did a demonstration of an open house. Which I haven't seen for years and years. So this was a brand new one that he just did, and it was super. It was very, very concise, and like you know, not even as good as yours, but he did.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. I mean, Brian Buffini versus Allison Roach.
But Allison, it was a very basic. It took like what, 5 minutes? You know, the video part of it probably took 5 minutes or so. But he gave some really good foundation. And so with that, I'm gonna let you take this if you're ready, Allison. Did all of you watch Allison's amazing video?